Okay, hello and welcome once again to episode 12 of the Rare Groove Revolution podcast. I am your host, Earl Holder, a.k.a. DJ Solero, and I'm here back again once again with my special guests, Mr. James Lamb, otherwise known as Rodney. I mean, what would you prefer to be known as, Rodney or James Lamb? You tell me, bro.
Rodney.
Rodney? Okay, cool. And I'll also have on the iPhone none other than Miss Cheryl Rooney, daughter of the late, great Herb Rooney. Cheryl, thank you, both you and Rodney, for taking time out of your busy schedule once again to come back on the program.
Yes, you're welcome.
Pleasure.
All right. Well, to continue our last convo, I had listened to the track not too long ago, You Got Me, and well, two tracks actually off of I listened to the entire album, but the two specific tracks that particularly caught my attention off of the Caviar and Chitlins LP by the Exciters back in 1969 were the two tracks You Got Me and A Year Ago. And I believe those were Herb's solo songs, right? If I'm not mistaken.
I'm not even familiar with those two tracks.
Oh, okay.
But what I'm familiar with is the feeling, that I had while he was doing those tracks. You understand? I was kind of young. I think I was 8 or 9 then.
Right.
And I'm not even familiar. I remember him, little things, getting dressed to go take photos for the album cover.
No.
I remember, a lot. I remember his attire that he wore, the outfits he was going to wear. But as far as the album, I'm not even familiar with that.
I remember one of the I think it was around that era, around that Child Caviar and Chitlins era, where there was a specific picture of Herb with the black turtleneck and the gold chain. It was around that time.
Yes.
Yeah, he's looking smooth, man.
Yeah, that was a pretty nice album cover.
Yeah, it really was.
Yes.
It really was. Yes,
yeah,
it was.
And those two particular songs that you, Earl, just said, You Got Me and A Year Ago.
Yes.
And I like those two. I like those two songs right there.
Yes.
Yeah, I do too. I listen to them now.
Yeah, those were like Herb solos or a collaboration between Herb and one of the Exciters, if I'm not mistaken. But those were like songs where we actually got a chance to hear Herb,
his tenor,
out front.
Yeah.
So yes. That was cool. And you said you were there for the recording of the recording process of that album, Cheryl?
I was there, but I was not into the music part of it at that point.
Okay.
I was there. I remember the vibe, put it that way. I remember that. I don't remember because usually I can sit down and remember when he was writing the song or just play the back of the song, and I don't remember that for Caviar and Chitlins. But I remember the naming of the album. I remember him getting dressed for the album. I remember other things, but not the music part of that.
Mm. Okay. And what are your opinions about the recording of the album Black Beauty? Because songs like I Can Give In and
I don't know that. I don't know that.
Just Think.
Yeah, no, I don't know Black Beauty.
Oh, okay. It was back in 1971, and when I heard it, it kind of reminded me of something that the late great Sharon Jones of Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings would have probably done if she was still alive. But were you around during the recording process of that album?
No, I was not.
Oh, okay. Well, basically, let's talk about the other album that I'm sure that we're all familiar with, the In Heat Again LP by Brenda and Herb Rooney, Brenda and Herb. And the song that you, Cheryl, brought to my attention not too long ago, it was called I Who Have Nothing.
Yes.
How do you feel? How do both of you feel, both you and Rodney, feel about that particular track and album?
We heard that track. We heard that song from somebody else, and Daddy redid it. Quick. He was quick. And he sat down at his piano. He lived on 126th Avenue at the time. And in Queens, yeah. And he remixed it so quick. And he was like, girls, come here. It was me and my friend again. I told you, my sister, my older sister, Tracy. and come here. And he had us doing backup for that. I remember that album from start to finish.
Really?
I do, from start to finish. Studio time. Daddy had a thing for horns, and he had he wanted everything that the strings to be just perfect. And that's how he was. Everything had to be just right, and he put it where he wanted it.
It was almost like he was a perfectionist.
He was totally a perfectionist when it came to his music.
Right.
He was, but and it worked.
Yeah. And
I'm not
actually,
saying he did it alone.
I think I mentioned it to you earlier, Cheryl, that that was my first time I ever heard those albums. And
that's why I wanted you to hear it. You were kind of young, Rodney.
but those were great albums, though.
Yes, they are. They are.
Well, let me ask
especially,
you.
like I said, when especially I Who Have Nothing, it was like more up tempo, more upbeat. It was more disco-y.
Yeah, at the moment, yeah, because that's what it was then. Remember, early 70s, it was, disco.
Yeah.
Daddy wrote a song. Oh gosh, 2001 Disco Party. He wrote that in like 1977.
Really?
Oh yeah.
So in 1977, he wrote a song called "The 2001 Disco Party." He was ahead of his time.
Yes, he did.
He was ahead of his time.
Yeah, he was totally ahead of his time.
I got to look that up.
I don't know if you'll find it because it probably didn't make it to an album, but I'm sure somebody has it on what they call that thing, reel to reel or
real
something. Yeah, my brother might have it.
Rodney, what do you think? What did you think about the Black Beauty LP of 1971 by the Exciters?
This was actually my first time hearing the Black Beauty album, but there were certain songs on that album like I Can't Give In. It was a kind of like a reminiscent or a throwback, I should say, like of the Chicago soul sound.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, when I say
so.
Chicago soul sound, I'm talking about the Shy-Lights, Tyrone Davis, Barbara Acklin, and none other than Hamilton Bohannon.
Hamilton Bohannon, another legend. And also, well, Cheryl, let's fast forward a bit by me asking you, like, was Herb able to hear the Salt and Pepper rendition of the Isley Brothers' "It's Your Thing," where they sampled Herb's piano playing on that particular tune?
I keep thinking about it, and I can recall him mentioning it, but I just don't recall what he was talking about. See, Daddy, I told you, he wasn't really a fan of hip hop back then.
Right.
I wasn't a fan of it either, but when we heard it, he might have just mentioned it. And of course he would like it because it's your thing. That was one of his favorites.
Yep.
Okay.
So I don't want to misspeak, but I'm sure, well, he did like Salt and Pepper, so for that, I can say, yeah, he did like it.
Okay. And were you there for the Isley Brothers recording sessions when they recorded "It's Your Thing"?
I can't say it was "It's Your Thing," but I used to go with him to their house. My mother and I both used to go with him to their house in New Jersey.
Right. Because that's where they're originally from.
Yes. And he would do what he had to do and leave. And I don't even remember where we were while he was recording. I remember sitting there falling asleep, eating. My mother always had us. My mother was with us, and he was in the recording session, in the recording studio. But I remember being there, and it was fun. I was young. Like I said, I was born in 1961. Daddy was on the Grammys, what was that, like in the early 70s?
Right.
I was not even 10 yet. So a lot of that went on. They were friends. He was friends with them. We didn't just go there for just recording. We used to go there like, as friends. And all of a sudden then they asked him to to do that intro on It's Your Thing.
Well, what like other celebrities do you remember or that you recall visiting your house to visit
I
her?
remember my father being at the Apollo when I told you before, I think, who was Wilson Pickett.
Yeah.
Oh, Wilson Pickett.
Yes.
Okay.
I remember my father. I remember my mother telling me that my father used to have a group uh before the Exciters. And this man name was Dickie Williams, someone else named James King. And they did a song called I Talk to My Echo. Right? And this is my mother telling me all of this, when I was younger. And she used to always say Herb was destined to be what he was, a great songwriter because he always had a group. He always had something. Then also she used to tell me that they used to go to Broadway in Manhattan, this club called Gossinger's. It was on Broadway in Manhattan, and they used to perform there. This is with his group prior to the Exciters, and then once they broke up, that's when he entered the Exciters.
Let me ask you something. Like, I'm sorry not to cut you off, but
yeah,
how did Herb get into songwriting? Like, what inspired him, or who inspired him?
Okay, my father's brother was a piano player. I don't remember his name. My uncle, his name was Nathan Rooney. He played, and he used to admire his brother. That was his brother. That's the only thing I know. That's the only thing I know. And then he started playing the piano. He always had a voice. He heard the Excited singing something. They weren't the Excited. I think it was called something else, the Masterettes or something. And then he joined the group. Probably because they had girls in it, but you never know.
Man, you
And
learn
then
something new every
he
day.
became the tenor voice in their group. Yes.
Yeah, you learn something new every day. I had no idea that it was his brother Nathan Rooney who inspired him to become a songwriter. That's interesting.
Yes.
Neither.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So, what are some of your favorite songs that were penned by Herb Rooney?
Mine?
Yes, and
Oh my gosh.
we'll ask you,
Okay.
Rodney.
I have. Okay, so I love a song that my father and this English guy named Ian and from Europe. That's when my father used to go to Europe. Ian wanted to do black music so bad. He came to New York. He stayed with my mother and in her apartment, her little apartment, him and his friend. And they made songs. They did this song called Reaching for the Best. I love that song to this day. And this was in like early 1970, 71, 72, 73. He's still alive too. They did Reaching for the Best. That's one of my favorites. Brenda's voice to me was like angelic. I still love her voice. I don't think anybody can sing better than Brenda.
No.
Honestly, I don't. Okay, so then it was I Want to Make You My Sweetheart. I always love Tell 'em.
Yeah,
those are my three favorites.
Yeah, Tell 'em will always be a classic.
Yeah. Okay, so Daddy wrote this song, Balloon. I don't think that made it to no songs either, but to no albums either. But the song is just so magical to me. I sing it now. I sing it to my little grandchildren when they're babies. Balloon. It's about flying high in the sky. Something that if I could produce, I would produce that song.
Okay, we have, as it turned out, because it took us so long to like assemble this meeting, we have only about a minute left.
Okay.
But before I end the interview, Rodney and Cheryl, are there any like last words? Any closing words? Starting with you, Rodney.
Well, actually, Earl, I just wanted to say that I am so glad to do this interview with you and Cheryl, and because without you, this wouldn't be possible.
Okay. Okay. And Cheryl?
I'm just happy to be here, guys. Anytime, okay, Earl?
Anytime. All right. No doubt. No doubt. No doubt.
And I
Thank
thank
you. I
you.
know this was a little quickie interview. I know Rodney, you want to say give a shout out to the memories of people who recently passed away. Go ahead.
Yeah.